Good morning, fabulous ladies. Today is Motivational Monday, so I want to say happy Motivational Monday. It was my intention to do this live, however, life happened this morning, so I had to record this. I wanted to not cancel. I wanted to be obedient with what was put on my heart to say, and so I decided to just go ahead and record this and post it in the group. So before I get into Motivational Monday, I want to tell you what will be going on in the group today. So probably towards the beginning of the afternoon, we'll chat about some new looks for the releases that I posted on Friday. Just to give you some ideas of different looks that you can use with those pieces. Towards the middle of the afternoon, we'll chat about plaids. Some do's and don'ts about wearing plaids, whether they are in your clothing or in your accessories. You don't have to look like a lumberjack when you wear plaids. Plaids are actually really cute, especially in the fall. And towards the evening, I will share a style tip. So, if you're watching this for the very first time, if you're watching me for the very first time, my name is Tanisha Hemphill, fashion stylist for mainly professional women. I specialize in helping and teaching women to re-energize their wardrobe by using vibrant, bold, and sometimes subtle fashion accessories. I also show them clothing that is versatile so you don't get bored with it. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump into Motivational Monday. So today I wanted to talk to you about fear. Fear is something that can hinder you. It can paralyze you. It can stop you from being the very best you. It can stop you from living in your purpose. Now, fear is, you're not born with fear. Fear is something that you have learned along the way, whether it was from a negative experience, whether you were embarrassed, whether you were hurt either physically or mentally. That's where that fear comes from. Because if you think about when you were a child, or even if you have children, you'll notice like when they first say about 1, 2 in the early stages, they don't have any fear at all. They just go out, they just do whatever they do, say whatever they say. They have no fear. And fear comes in is when they are reprimanded for either doing something wrong. And so that triggers something in their brain to say, okay, so if I do this, this is what's going to happen. And I don't like this. So then I'm not going to do that. Okay, so same thing as an adult. You take those same lessons and you incorporate fear in your life based upon those past negative experiences. So if you say public speaking, if you were out and you had to say something and you got nervous and you got anxiety and you didn't like the way that feeling gave you, okay, so then that fear, you learned that lesson. That lesson was, if I speak in front of people, I'm going to be afraid. I'm going to be scared. People are going to look at me. I'm going to be nervous. All of that comes to you. So when someone presents you with an opportunity to speak, then you become fearful, even before you even do it. So I hope you guys are following me. So fear is a learned behavior. Okay. So I'm reading my notes as I'm talking to you, so excuse me. Okay, so when I am fearful, typically what I do, or I try to do, is I try to find someone in the Bible that, preferably a woman, that went through a similar experience, or I can relate to, and I want to see how she was able to navigate through that experience and how she overcame. So when I think of fear, I think of actually two women. One is the woman with the issue of blood, and the other one is Esther. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Esther. So Esther, if you're not familiar with the story, Esther was a very young woman of Jewish descent who was strategically placed in the kingdom as a queen. Okay, so Long story short, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm not probably telling the story exactly the way it is written, but I'm going to tell you the meat of it. So her cousin, she actually was an orphan Jewish girl that was raised by her older cousin. So her cousin Mordecai found out that it was a plot to get rid of all the Jews in that region. Okay. And the person that was behind the plot, his name was Haman. He was in the kingdom. He was like one of the king's second man in command. So he was really high up in the kingdom. So Mordecai went to Esther and he's like, look, he asked her, can you go to the king, tell him what's going on so you can save your people, so you can actually save yourself, save your people, because if this comes out and he starts killing all the Jews and it comes out that you are Jewish as well, you'll be killed too. So Esther was put in a serious dilemma. Okay, just like how we are all, sometimes things are just thrown on us and we have to react on the fly, or we have to really make hard decisions in a short period of time. And that's where fear comes up, right? So she was very, very fearful at that time. Number one, because she was real young. She wasn't mature. She was new in her spot as a queen. And prior to her becoming a queen, the reason why she became a queen is because the previous queen was banished. The king banished her. Okay, so she was nervous. She didn't know how to even approach this situation. So number one, she was young. She didn't know what to do, how to do it. She was afraid. She actually probably, I'm thinking, my version, she's probably just getting comfortable in her spot as a queen. So again, she doesn't know, how to approach this. Number two, the man she was married to, the King Xerxes, he was a Persian, and he was, some people have called him a madman. Like, she saw firsthand how he would kill people on a whim, and she was nervous about approaching him about something like that. And the third thing was, back in those days, you had to be summoned. You had to be called. The king had to call you. You couldn't just go to him. Even if you were the queen, you couldn't just go to him. And she hadn't been called by him or summoned by him in 30 days. So a whole month he hadn't seen her, or he hadn't needed to see her, put it that way. So she was nervous about approaching him or whatever, because if you came to the king without being summoned, you could be killed. So again, she was scared. She was scared for her life. She didn't know what she was going to do. It was a lot of pressure that was put on her. So Mordecai, he just left her with this. He didn't press her about it, but he did tell her, he's like, look, if you don't do this, first he told her, you were born for this. You were put in this position so that you can save your people. And if you don't do it, God will raise up someone else to do it for you, right? So she was left with that. So here we are. She's afraid. She's young. She doesn't know what she's going to do. And now she is stuck in this situation and she doesn't know what she's going to do. However, those last words rang true to her, and she was like, okay, I'm going to do this. If I perish, I perish. If I die, I die, but I'm going to do this. I was born for this. This is one of my purposes, and I'm going to press through, and I'm going to do it. So she went ahead and she did what she had to do, and she saved her people. She saved her people. She pressed through that fear. She went through it without hesitation. She was hesitant at first, but at the end, she pressed through and she went through and she did it. Okay, so I use her story as a resource for me when I am fearful. And I encourage you to do what you are fearful of. The business you're trying to start, the the new job, or whatever it is that you are afraid, all of those negative thoughts that are coming in your head, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, whatever it is that's stopping you from moving forward, ignore those thoughts, because they are not of God. They are not of God. That is something that the enemy is trying to keep you from your purpose. So you keep pressing through, and I encourage you to keep moving towards the mark. Whatever it may be, keep moving towards the mark. Don't stop until you get there. Whatever you need to make that happen, God will provide it for you. God will provide it for you. So I encourage you to move past that fear, keep pushing, keep doing whatever you need to do to make it happen. Okay? And last thing about fear. Typically, and I can almost say 100% of the times, what's on the other side of fear, what you're afraid of, once you pass through that fear, that's where your greatness lies. Your greatness lies on the other side of fear. So whatever you are fearful of, just think about it. On the other side, once you get past that fear, is nothing you can stop, nothing that you cannot do. There is nothing you cannot do. And that's where your greatness lies. That's where your purpose is. So I encourage you to push through whatever it is that's stopping you, regardless of what it is, regardless of who's telling you you can't do it. You can do it. You can do it. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't let fear hinder you. Okay? All right. So that's all that I have for you today. I pray that this was motivation for you. And let me know. Give me a comment. Let me know. Message me. Tell me whether it was helpful to you or not. And if this wasn't for you, just remember the message and pass it on. Encourage somebody. Somebody is always out there that needs encouraging. All right, guys. I hope you guys are having a fantabulous day. And we'll chat throughout the day, but I will see you again on Wear It Wednesday. Bye-bye.